Roxo Media House.
From the Flying T Studio at Roxo Media House, this is Frogs Today with Colin Boddicker, Rory Rutledge, and a surprise guest. And now here's your host of Frogs Today, the voice of the Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Frogs Today. Live we come from the Flying T Club studios. And boy, do we have a show for you lined up here for this one. We got a very special guest who's going to stop by a little bit later on. That is all I can say about him. Yeah, wait till you meet this special guest who's going to be in studio. Rory Rutledge is going to stop by. Rory, of course, handles marketing here for TCU for the men's basketball team, also helps out on football. We'll get a little idea of what's to come here in the next couple of weeks for TCU Athletics. Sonny Dykes, in his own words, we'll hear from him. We're going to check in on the Rifle team, who had a great weekend, as a matter of fact. But right now, we start with a little college basketball and the Horned Frog schedule, which came out, I guess, toward the end of last week, gave us an opportunity to sort of digest it, dive into it a little deeper. We think Jamie Dixon's team will be top 10 potentially here to start the year. So we bring in our basketball expert, our good friend Colin Boddicker, the former Horned Frog basketball player, who joins us via Zoom right now to start the show. We thought we'd start with this, Colin. Off the top, the schedule as it looks right now. I tell you what, you get into Big 12 play, which we will in shortly, and things get tough. But there is a 3-game stretch of non-conference games, November 25, 26, and then November 30, where the Frogs will see Cal, and then either Clemson or Iowa, and then Providence in the Big East Big 12 Challenge. We're going to know a lot about this team early on, are we not?
We are, but first, Brian, thanks for having me on. And I know from the jump that I'm not a special guest coming in studio that you mentioned at the top. I will be the Zoom contributor today. So, the schedule for the Frogs coming out was pretty interesting. A lot more non-traditional games than what we've seen kind of in the past, the way Jamie Dixon has set up the schedule. So a lot more challenges for the squad this year in the non-conference portion of the schedule, which I think is exactly what you're going to want. Obviously, the Big 12 schedule is going to be the Big 12 schedule, the toughest conference in the country. There's literally not a single game on the schedule that is one of those you just kind of shuffle over into the win column. There's no such thing in the Big 12. But having these other Power 5 conference tilts leading into the Big 12, I think is going to pay off dividends this year for the Frogs, get them some early tests to kind of see if they can continue the momentum that they showed, down the last few weeks of the season last year.
You've got that tournament over the Thanksgiving weekend that we mentioned in Destin, Florida. Then you have the game against Providence, obviously, that we talked about, that'll be at Schollmeyer Arena. But then if you stay in the non-conference schedule, you got a matchup with SMU on December the 10th, which will be at Dickies Arena. I'm glad this game is back on the schedule, Colin.
Yeah, I am too. It's good to have that game every year, I think. Luckily for me, when I was playing, we were 5-0 lifetime against SMU. So that's the one thing I can definitely hang my hat on, is being part of those teams. But, it's good to have that crosstown rivalry. I think the fans like it. Certainly we saw that in the football game last weekend. I was able to I live not very far from SMU, fortunately or unfortunately. So I was able to walk over to catch some of that, and that was a fun experience watching the Frogs have a good game there too. So having the basketball game though back and playing it at Dickies in a little bit bigger venue is always fun, and gotta love good rivalries like this. Got to keep them going.
Yeah, and SMU will have a new look this year as well, obviously. 21st of December, Frogs travel to Utah, to Salt Lake, to take on the Utes, and they'll take on that. They'll have that game at the home of the Jazz. This is going to be fun.
I think this game actually is the one I kind of circle on the calendar where it might be one that the Frogs need to make sure that they're ready for when they go in there. Utah, while they're not playing at their home floor, still playing in that bigger venue, they're still going to sell that thing out. And it's going to be a very pro-Utah crowd. The Frogs handled them at Dickies Arena last year, but you could see that Utah was still a young team and had an opportunity to potentially get better as the season went along. And I think they're a team that, while they may not compete necessarily for the Pac-12 title this year, they're still going to be very tough. And it's a very tough environment to go in and get a win.
All right.
Big test for the Frogs.
Yeah, it will be. Big 12 play starts on New Year's Eve, a little early as a matter of fact. Taking on Texas Tech and Schollmeyer Arena. Boy, this thing is going to be crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, good luck getting a ticket for this one if
Yeah.
you haven't bought your season tickets yet. Obviously, Texas Tech has a very big presence in DFW and wants to get butts and seats for that game on our home floor. But I really think, given the hype of what happened towards the end of the season last year for the Frogs and the momentum of having literally almost everybody back minus one or two guys, certainly the main contributors are all back from last year's team. I think the home court advantage might be coming back to Fort Dixon this year, at least have a much better home court advantage, especially if you get some good wins early in the season in some of these non-conference tests. And then when you get into Big 12 play, hopefully have I'll give Tech 5% of the crowd. Let's get 95% of the crowd in there being pro Frog and make it a really difficult place for them to come play.
First true road game of the year will happen on January 4 down in Waco against the Baylor Bears. You got Texas on January 11 in Austin. The one that concerns me the most is a back-to-back swing. Colin, January 18th, Frogs are in Morgantown, West Virginia. And then on the 21st, just 3 days later, you got to go to Lawrence, Kansas. So I'm assuming the Frogs will go from Morgantown to Lawrence, West Virginia, KU, back-to-back. That's going to be a tough stretch.
Yeah, I would anticipate the Frogs go straight to Lawrence as well from Morgantown. Morgantown always a tough place to play. Bob Huggins has always had really tough teams there that play hard and good crowds there. They're probably not as high as they've typically been in the years past. So you'd hope the Frogs can go in there and get a good road win there, as long as they're not looking ahead to that game in Lawrence. Because if TCU can somehow navigate the non-conference schedule unscathed and then get through with, maybe be call it 4-1, 5-1 or so in Big 12 play going into Lawrence, that could be a top 5 matchup going in, because the Frogs should start the season. Some polls are saying, high teens. You may have seen Andy Katz's power rankings come out the other day. He has them ranked as high as 8 in his poll. So
yeah, Frogs have never won at West Virginia, never won at Kansas since joining the Big 12. You got KU back on the 20th of February. That's Big Monday, prime time for that one. That will be huge, and you close out the schedule against Oklahoma on March 4th. I like the way it lays out. Colin, real quick, give us some overall thoughts on the schedule itself.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think that Big Monday game that you just referenced, that really could be one of those deciding games for the conference title if the Frogs play to form this year. Obviously, avoiding injuries, assuming that they can make the next step in the progression of a team coming from becoming good to becoming great. They have a good opportunity there, but then the game right after that, they go right on the road to Texas Tech, which we know is an awful tough place to play as well. So no nights off for the Frogs. There's a few things that they'll want to, shore up from last year's team to kind of try to help, make them better for this year. And one of the biggest deficiencies that they'll probably look at is to improve the three-point shooting and the free throw shooting. Sometimes they're going to play a lot of games where there's, 65, 62. They only scored in the 80s 4 times last year, and one of those was the overtime loss to Arizona in the tournament. So, play a lot of defensive-minded games, but the Frogs are very good defensively, one of the best defensive teams, certainly one of the best offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding teams in the country. They were plus 9.5, 9 or so on rebounds for the entire season last year. That is a very big number, and hopefully they can have a repeat effort of that going forward this year.
All right, excitement at bounds now for TCU as they get ready for hoops right around the corner. We'll talk to Rory Rutledge, the marketing director for TCU basketball, a little bit about some special items coming up here to kick off that schedule. Also still to come, Sonny Dykes in his own words. Got a lot more we got to get into, including that special guest that you don't want to miss coming up next. Thank you, Colin Boddicker, for joining us. Frogs Today continues after this timeout. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU, both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com. Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com. Welcome back into Frogs Today. We have a very special guest with us right now, all the way from Dallas. Peruna has made his way here. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for taking the time to visit with us. Got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. I'm curious because I know the long history of your name and the fact that you were named after let's call it a popular elixir back in the 1800s. In today's politically correct climate, I got to know this, my man. You ever thought about changing your name at all?
Hi, Brian.
Okay. I know you were you were picked to be the next Peruna. Well, no, stay with me now because I know this is sensitive stuff and it can be embarrassing. I know you were picked right before you were scheduled to be castrated. Give me some sense as to how that made you feel.
Unbelievable. Put yourself in my shoes. I went from having a high-pitched voice to hanging with fraternity dudes at football games. When the choice is to entertain or lose your testicles, what would you do?
I got to ask, if you had to choose, would it be hay or oats?
Carrots. Do you think I could eat hay and oats and maintain this physique?
So fill us in on what's going on in your world now that the week is over last week from TCU. By the way, do you have a significant other?
I like to play the corral.
When we were in Dallas last week, one of the things that we found were there were a lot of folks who were upset with Sonny Dykes. Are you one of those? Were you mad at Sonny at all?
I'm sad. I miss the long Sunday rides we shared, just the 2 of us, enjoying the outdoors and our time together. Now I'm regulated to the bowels of Gerald Ford Stadium, surrounded by the stench of leftover $3 hot dogs and abandoned Crocs.
Peruna, thank you for coming by here on Frogs Today. It's been a great conversation. I look forward to seeing you again next year, my man. You're looking good, buddy. Thank you. More to come on Frogs Today, including a look at the TCU rifle team, who started the year off. Sorry, I didn't mean to mention guns in front of you. Started the year off with a record-setting performance. We'll find out about them right now.
To start the year with an NCAA record is just shows how talented of a group of shooters we have on the team this year. Perfect score would be a score of 4,800. So the prior record was a 47-52. To break that record by 6 points was quite an accomplishment.
It was really big. I didn't think we kind of expected it even, and just to like show up and show how good we are in the first match really like sets the point for the rest of the season as well.
Beating the previous record by 6 points is a really, really big deal. That usually doesn't happen. We usually beat it by maybe a point or two.
You're starting out the season. You don't know who you have. I mean, we have a new team. We have 3 new freshmen. They bring a lot to the team. So it just shows that we're ready. We're ready to start. And, I mean, fear the frog.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richards Rainwater. Richards Rainwater is 100% rain. Refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com. Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth. Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. And order online at daveshotchicken.com.
Wednesday edition of Frogs Today continues now. Coming up just a little bit, we'll hear from Sonny Dykes from his press conference on Tuesday in the Four Seasons team room. We'll get into that in here in just a couple of minutes. But first, you ready for this?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Rory Rutledge is with us right now. He's got some long title now. It's like Super Associate Athletic Director for what?
Marketing.
Yeah, okay. That's
basketball.
Basketball, marketing,
Yeah.
Promote, everything, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming to the Flying T Club studios.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. My first time, and I got the tour beforehand, and man, you guys got some nice digs.
We're rocking and rolling. How about this? You show up on a day when we had a pony in studio, man.
No.
You know?
Hey, go Frogs.
Exactly,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
We had a fun one last Saturday.
Yes, we did. All right. I want to dive into all kinds of stuff. First off, we had Colin Boddicker on earlier. We were breaking down the schedule and the men's basketball schedule, if you will. And it's going to be some great matchups already. I know that's high on your priority list because the demand for tickets this year is at an all-time high.
Yes, sir. We are excited with the schedule release, which is last Friday.
Yeah.
That Big East Challenge with Providence is going to be a fun one. We do have some big Big 12 matchups with Texas Tech on New Year's Eve.
How about that?
Which should be fun. We'll have some fun plans for that for our fans. And then, of course, everyone I'm sure circled that Kansas on Big Monday.
Yes.
I know I did. And we did as a staff. It was, holy cow, we got it.
Yep.
Prime time again. So we're excited. And then finish off with Texas at the end of the year. But no, certainly. There are still some season tickets available, and we've been having people beat down our doors since last March.
Yes,
which has been cool. I mean, seems like there's been a buzz around Fort Worth since last March for basketball to start again.
Yeah.
I know I've felt that way, and those of us in the department. So we're excited, and hopefully the fans are too. There are still some tickets available, season tickets available. So. Please don't hesitate if you have any interest in that.
Right.
But certainly with the schedule release, and then we have some fun things planned, and I'm sure everyone saw the new jerseys.
Yes.
Man, those look cool.
They're cool. Yeah, we did the show live from there on the day of the unveiling, and just had a blast checking those out. And the guys loved them too. That's what was cool. Hey, I want to hit you up on something because you got a big event coming up, Schollmeyer Live, which will be our first chance to really get to know this men's basketball team. Fill us in on the deets on that.
Super fun event. We're excited to bring it back, especially it's kind of one of these get through COVID and we can do this sort of stuff again. And So it's like you said, it's the first time to really introduce both teams, even though I know a lot of our fans know both men's and women's teams. But so it's, it'll be your 3-point contests, your dunk contests. We'll introduce both teams, so you'll get to know them. We actually have a half-court shot through one of our sponsors, Pepsi. They're offering $15,000 if a student can hit it. So we have a big check to hopefully give somebody that night.
Right.
And then we're capping it off with a special artist, which we haven't released yet.
A Grammy award-winning artist.
Grammy award-winning artist.
Let's make sure we got all that in there.
Yes, thank you for correcting.
All right. So hopefully soon we'll know who that is.
Absolutely.
Hopefully
soon.
In
fact, this Saturday at the football game versus Oklahoma, we are releasing the performer.
Oh, okay.
No clues here today.
Yeah, none from you. I get it. By the way, that $15,000 would cover Rory's tab at the Chick-fil-A across the street. Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, all right. I want to hit you in one other thing too, real quick. You got the game coming up on Saturday. You mentioned that. It's Parents Weekend. It's a lot going on, Hall of Fame weekend. You guys do a great job on the game presentation. Sonny Dykes has talked about that. He's mentioned it. I know it's all about the fan experience for you.
It is. We appreciate that, first off. And we appreciate it anytime, the coaches notice and the athletes notice as well. A lot of time and effort go into that.
Yeah.
It's a total team effort. It starts from Jeremiah all the way down. He wants, new things, new changes, and we like that. We like that challenge. And so each year we come in as a staff, as a group, and there's traditions and obviously things we want to bring back each year, but we also try and keep it fresh, especially this year. New staff, new vibe, new energy. So we've implemented a few new things into the game day, whether it's video or music. We'll have a few new things this Saturday.
Good.
We kind of keep some stuff in our pocket for games like this. So
I still love it when you play the 70s Southern Rock, though. Don't forget that. More Leonard Skinner. Okay.
You got to mix up the music, and that's actually one of the things we've refreshed this year is the music.
Yeah, I've noticed. It's good stuff.
But we keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we appreciate when other people do too, because we do like notes.
We
like
sure.
feedback.
Yeah, Rory Rutledge does a terrific job at TCU. He's like super associate AD for marketing or something like that. By the way, I love this. Defend Fort Dixon. Thanks for bringing one of these by too. Get your tickets to men's basketball already. You can get those season tickets. Go to gofrogs.com. You can find out more information there. Speaking of that game on Saturday, Sonny Dykes earlier gave us a preview this week at his press conference of what he expects out of the Oklahoma Sooners. We hear from the coach in his own words right now.
We're glad to get back and be able to play in front of our fans and students, and obviously against a really good football team, and a team that is not accustomed to losing many games. And so I'm sure they'll, be well prepared and excited to get back out. And I thought it was a well played game, and there was a minimal amount of jawing that took place, and it was kind of like you would expect. Two good football teams playing. Well, a lot of big plays. I think that's the thing that you look at. They're, and again, they're good up front. I think that's the strength of their team is their offensive line. I think it has been for a number of years, and then they've got what they've always got. They've got really good skill players that make plays. Their running backs strong, runs tough, explosive. Receivers are good as always. Quarterback is really good as well and does a nice job buying time and keeping his eyes down the field. And they've always been a team that's been able to manage a lot of big plays. Now, I think that they're very committed to running the football. That's one thing that makes their offense go is being able to run the ball. And so we've got to do a good job of stopping the run, slowing it down at least, and then making competitive plays. That's kind of what it comes down to. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And so that's kind of, I think, our guys' mentality this week. And, I think that what makes our league different is there's no layups, and there's just not many leagues that can say that. You just look around and you go, wow, these guys are good. Wow, these guys are good. These guys are good. And, before long, you've gotten through every team in the league, and you said, these are a bunch of really good football teams. I think he's just comfortable and confident. I think he believes in the guys he's throwing the ball to. And I think we've worked hard to create some confidence in what we're doing from a scheme standpoint. And I think he's comfortable with it, and I think he enjoys it. And, I think that anytime you're completing 75% of your balls, you're putting it in the right spot and you're getting it out on time, and then guys are making some plays. The quarterback position is kind of like every other position where, you get through the week and you see who you think gives you the best chance to win, and that's who you roll out there. Yeah, he's a hard guy not to trust. How many – it's funny, I think he had a 63-yard touchdown Saturday, and how many guys that are working on their PhD can say that in college football, that they had a 63-yard touchdown while they're working on their PhD. Yeah, look, that's one of the cool things about being at TCU is that there is, there is a real community feel. You do kind of get a sense for how good TCU is at basically customer service. It's a community thing, and again, that's kind of what makes it special being here. That's one of the reasons we chose to live so close to campus, is so we can get over here and experience that with the student body and my wife and my kids and myself, and just be part of this community.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club, or online at flyingtclub.com. There you have it, Sonny Dykes in his own words, bragging about the folks here in Fort Worth, and of course the fans who need to be out on Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Football Palace that we call Amon G. Carter Stadium. Prettiest 1.32 acres in Fort Worth. You knew that, right? All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Frogs Today. Coming up tomorrow, got a little baseball talk we got to get into. Kirk Sarlos is going to be by. We got some women's golf we got to touch on. Then on Friday, it's all football all the time. You're going to be around. You want to be around for that. Barry Switzer, former Sooner coach, is going to be with us on Friday. All right? Till we see you tomorrow, have yourself a great night. Thanks for joining us here. Frogs Today. Don't forget to go to frogstoday.com for all the latest TCU sports news.
Frogs Today is brought to you by the Flying T Club, supporting TCU student athletes, and by Richard's Rainwater. Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Frogs Today is a production of Roxo Media House.
Roxo Media House.